Okay, I think we can start. I know there are a few more people joining in. Steffi, I would need your support to just see if there are any messages in the chat box, if there are people in the waiting room to get them in. Um, Thank you so much for joining in. A very good evening to everybody. Where I'm joining in, it's not very warm. It's a little cold, as a lot of you can see. I'm joining in from Delhi. My name is Nishtha. I'm your host for the evening. I work with Adhyan Foundation. Thank you for signing up for this session, from Tools to Culture, Building Learning Ecosystems with Technology. Um, Before we start, it would be nice if we can rename ourselves. We can write the name of the organization next to us so that we know who all are joining and who are there in the room today. Uh, to be able to make the best use of the time today, it will be helpful if you can keep yourself on mute. We have space in case you have any questions. We can have reflections and questions in that time period. But in case you have anything that you want to share, please feel free to use chat. The next thing is, if you are in a network zone where you can switch on your videos, please feel free to switch on your videos. It just feels nice to see the faces and see all of you interacting with us. With that, I'll just take you through the flow of the conversations today. We have 90 minutes. We can move to the next slide. We have 90 minutes with us. We have a lot to cover. What we'll be covering today is, we'll start with a little bit of opening and context setting for the day. Um, Kalyani, you're able to move this slide? Yes. We'll start with the context setting and opening, why we thought of having this conversation today, followed by the story of Athyan. We'll be sharing with all of you how, as an organization, we adapted, what phase of our journey we thought that technology is something that we need to incorporate. Then we have two panelists joining us from two incredible organizations working in the space of education in India, Vopa and Saja. We have Prashast with us, we have Praful. They'll be sharing their journeys with us. We'll also be introducing them, but we want to take our time to introduce them. So we'll be doing that in a bit. And then we'll also open up some space for audience reflections and for you to ask any questions that you have from the panelists. So this is how we'll be spending next 90 minutes. Since it's a very packed uh, 90 minutes for all of us, I'll just move forward and we'll start with the context setting and opening. Um, when we're thinking of who should be the person who should do this space, like who should open this space for us, who should share the story of technology with all of you, for us at Adhyan, we couldn't think of a better person than Kalyani is our chief information officer at Adhyan. And trust me when I say this, when we say the word technology, we think of Kalyani, and when we think of Kalyani, we think of technology. So I think Kalyani is the best person to take this space forward and talk about everything that we have been doing and why we are doing what we are doing at Tathian. Over to you, Kalyani.
That was a very uh, bloated introduction. Thank you, Nishta. Not a technologist either by academics or by profession. It's just a serendipity that I happen to be looking at technology here at Adhyan, and which is why I sort of want to jump right in. And You see here a very interesting intro slide that I've put together, which has the essence of our work at Adhyan, who are the kids. So this conversation is not going to be about what tools we are using, what tools we have developed, but it's going to be more about how technology becomes a part of everyday practice, or how in the years, 3 years of introducing different types of platforms and technology, dabbling with AI, we have sort of made it a part of our culture rather than a separate initiative. So how we have been able to uh, embed it into our programs. I'll talk a little bit about how it has been for us at Adhyan as we introduce technology, and it's not been linear. It's not been particularly glamorous. It's rather been full of small adjustments. We have faced a lot of resistance because we work directly with the system architecture in different public education spaces across the Northeast and Goa, a little bit in Delhi and then Karnataka. There's been a lot of learning, there's been a lot of unlearning. What I've come to realize is that the real work is not about what the tools are at all. It's more about habits, trust, shared language, and how people actually make decisions together using technology. So we are going to jump right in, and I've got a very interesting question for you all. And I would love for you to engage, put up some answers on the chat about what do you want to be when you grow up? So we'll take a couple of minutes, just put up some answers on the chat. You can think of when you used to think of this question. I know a lot of us don't anymore, so it'd be interesting to see what kind of answers we get. Student-friendly facilitator. Thank you, Afia. Photographer. Brilliant. Thanks, Aniket. Ice cream lady. That's an interesting one. Fashion designer, museum curator, politician. Um, I also want to be chill. Very, very interesting. Designer, educator, singer, educator once more. Uh, Brilliant. All good answers. I don't think there are any right or wrong answers to this question. Well, when I thought of myself to be a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut and a painter and a poet and a dancer and a violin player. So, can you think how great it is to experience the exuberant feeling that learning unleashes as a kid when you've just started learning and you're learning about these new things, and every day you want to be a different new person when you grow up, right? uh it's the feeling of knowing with conviction that if I try, I can actually be that. And that what a superpower that is. And that superpower is what we want to unlock at Adhyan for our students. And we believe that good schools unlock those superpowers for every child. So at Adhyan, I'm going to talk a little bit about why we exist for people who don't know. We want to ensure that every child in a government school learns in a school where learning is playful. Children have a voice and can discover by themselves what they are good at. So they have a lot of agency. And that is what we envision, a good school for every child. And what we do to enable that, we enable those school heads and system level officials to spend time where learning is taking place, not outside of the system, not making decisions, not knowing what is happening on the ground, but inside where learning is actually happening, and then develop a shared vocabulary with them of what a good school looks like. Here you can see how we enable that for a system leader or for a school leader. The child is at the center, or we try to keep the child at the center of all the work that we do to enable learning is happening for the child. We are not directly working with the child, but we want to create spaces where by enriching, by building the capacity of the system leaders who work directly with the child, we are able to create an experience of a good school for the child. So if you look at us, we work with all the system level officials, all the way from the state to the teacher, at the block level, at the district level, at the complex level, everyone who's involved in the school system level architecture. We try to reach them and then try to map their connection to the child who is at the center of what we are trying to do. How we do it? We do it, one second. I'm not able to change the slide. So we use school quality frameworks that every state makes contextually. And what I wanted to show you on the next slide, one second. Sorry about this.
It's okay, Kalyani. Do you want me to share the screen?
No, I think it's should work okay now. Are you still able to see my screen? Can you please go ahead and share the screen? I think there's something.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So we work with the, yeah, this is just a great example of how technology sometimes fails us or makes it difficult for us to talk about what we want to talk about. So we work with the system leaders on a quality architecture. I'm going to stop sharing, Nishta. Yeah. On a school quality framework that every state contextualizes for themselves. And what we have tried to do here is to map all the domains of that framework to how a child directly experiences a difference that happens in that framework. So you can see that the framework has many domains, which is about infrastructure, joyful learning. Every child is growing and thriving, which is talking about their progress, their attainment, their development. Then there is the domain that talks about how teachers are facilitating in a classroom. Yeah. There's a domain that talks about inclusion, health, and safety. So what changes for the child if a school works on these domains and these standards? That is what we try to help the school do by building the capacity of the system leaders who are working directly with the child. Yeah. A little bit about our super powerful reach. We have presence in the Northeast in 3 states. In Nagaland, we work with all schools. In Arunachal Pradesh, we work in 6 districts with about 500 schools. In Tripura, we started working with 1,400 schools for the past 3 years, but we have now scaled up to all public schools across the state and deploying technology to be able to monitor effectively the framework that we have helped the state put together. We are doing a very small pilot in Delhi with about 4 schools to see how the framework can be developed in that context. We've done work with 6,000 plus libraries in Karnataka. We have a very robust read aloud program that we also run in Goa, and Goa being one of our oldest states where we have been for about 8 years is the longest sort of experience of how technology can come in programmatically in the work that we are trying to do. And we have a very small project running in Kalyan. Next. Yeah. So I'm going to cover very quickly before we move into the panel, what was the need of technology at Adhyan, what provisions did we have, and what kind of impact they led to. And very quickly, a very interesting thing that you see on the screen is Snakes and Ladder, which I'm going to reveal as I talk about it. So the need of technology, our potential reach with the aim of working with all government schools in the country gives us 24.8 crore students to work with in 14.72 lakh schools, 98 lakh teachers. And this is not made up data. This is data that's been published in UDICE Plus 2023 and 24. But when we looked at that and we looked at the kind of technology that we were using to monitor the school quality framework in different schools, uh, we the first thought that came into our mind was that this is going to need a lot of rows on the Excels that we use to monitor, and a lot of cloud space where we'll have to store all of this data. So what can we do to make this system more robust, where we don't have to pay for the cloud space, or we don't have to manage exuberant size of Excels where the data is coming in? And that's what led us to our provision of the kind of technology we started using. So the first bit is about practitioner-led learning. We in our work have found out that knowledge resides within the system, and we want to explore how to get that knowledge out of the system and out to every person who wants to learn about different contexts. And Abhyas is a platform, it's an open source platform built entirely on Moodle that has enabled us to do that not only internally for us, but also for our practitioners on the field, where they are able to put up their practices from a remote district in Tripura that another remote district in Nagaland is able to learn from. And the kind of trust, the kind of empathy we see in sharing these practices with one another is tremendous as you go into the field. It also sort of increases the confidence of people in the practices that are coming, that are tried and tested. These are not theoretical, theory-heavy courses, but are tried and tested, how-to quick guides that practitioners themselves are putting onto the platform and you're learning from. We are building a layer of AI again over this, trying to make it more user-friendly so that people are able to put up their practices as well as learn from the practices that are available on the platform. We also have a bot that's got attached to Abhyas now. And we've worked with Glyphic to build the bot. And that led us to believe that practitioner-led learning is sort of the way forward, not only for us internally, but also to ensure that there are structured systems being put into place for the practitioners as well as for us. When I say structured systems, this is a very internal use case for us, where we started using technology to make systems and structures better. So digital apps like Canva, Voice Notes, GPT, Gemini, Google Sheets being our number one MIS platform at this point, and Zoho People, where we are trying to manage. We are a small team of 43 people, and we try to do our performance management, our leaves through Zoho People. Very new to experimenting with how performance management can happen on a platform like this for the size of an organization that we have. Our field teams are often on the field throughout the day, and they make a lot of notes. We used to do that with pen and paper, and then that added a layer of complication with the field teams, where they had to come back, they had to transcribe those notes, and then those notes needed to be put up online for others to see. So kind of trying to build a knowledge management structure. But then with the influx of AI, something as simple as a Meta bot on WhatsApp has enabled our field teams to make quick voice notes, summarize all of that, and that becomes not only the knowledge that gets transferred to the person who's coming next, but also something that helps us get the insights in a very quick, crisp manner of what the day for a field team member looks like. The third and the most important part that not only has enabled us to make decisions, but also our stakeholders on the field is using our MIS app, which we have deployed in all 1900 schools in Nagaland, which is called Sudhar. Looker Studio connected to the Google Sheets, where we have maintained data so far. And of course, Begin, which is a Zoho CRM to make those donor relationships stronger. I want to take a moment to talk about how we've been able to build dashboards not only for internal processes, but also for stakeholders on our field, which are role-based, which the stakeholders at the block level, district level, and state level are using to take decisions in real time. I'll also invite one of our field team members in a couple of minutes once I'm done playing snakes and ladders with you. Why I call it snakes and ladders is because it's been our challenges have also been enablers for us. So yeah, uh, yeah. Our challenges have also been enablers for us, which have helped us understand what is the learning opportunity when we are facing with that challenge. And adoption of an app has been one of the greatest challenges that we have faced on the field. Nobody wants an extra app on their phone. Nobody wants to log into a new app when they can do it on Excel or when they can get ready-made data. But this is a learning we got when we were trying to deploy our MIS app in Nagaland. But what we also learned then is about behaviors, change management in those behaviors with the government level people, because these were apps designed for the school leaders to be able to uh, do their school review, build their action plans, and help them with making their school improve on the different standards that we saw earlier. So what we understood from here that this cannot be a push mechanism. We cannot have just compliance making it work on the field. What we need to do is to engage with the school leaders, understand their perspective, and figure out a way to make it a part of their everyday practice. And as we realized this when we were conducting to penetrate and trying to go forward from there, which is a good improvement from when we were at 5% few months back. The next challenge we faced was scaling within the government systems. So as you saw that we were maintaining a lot of Google Sheets, and the MIS app was a good solution to move away from that. We were also using up a lot of cloud space because grows and increasing. What we understood the best way to be sustainable was to make sure that we are adhering to the hosting norms, the privacy and the privacy constraints, the certifications, and everything that the government wanted within an app, building it on an open system so that it's able to talk to the different systems within a government, like the UDICE or the SARL. It's able to fetch data, it's able to deploy data to these apps. And as we moved towards this kind of a model, it helps us keep the costs as well as the sustainability aspect in check. We've been able to deploy our learning management system, which is Abhyas, on the Nagaland server. Nagaland has a physical server on which it operates, and we've been able to deploy our platform on their systems, which sort of also is another snake and ladder for us, because we are now understanding what it needs to deploy on what we need to deploy on a government system. And to do that remotely on a physical server, there are another set of learnings that we have been able to inculcate from there. And our third and the most important challenge as well as enabler has been to design for low connectivity contexts, because we work in a lot of remote areas where connectivity is still pretty poor. We've tried to keep both the apps.
And Tripura is a state based in the northeast, and it has its own challenges. And with respect to technology, the major challenges that we have seen in the field is that one is there is poor connectivity and very uh, erratic connectivity, internet connectivity, and then there is frequent power shortages in the region, and also the exposure to technology is very low for our stakeholders. So, keeping all those things, all these challenges in mind, we started working with the stakeholders to majorly to stay connected and ensure that there is a smooth communication between the team and the stakeholders, and we are able to enable our stakeholders to take data-driven decisions. And also, we have been trying to create a community of a peer learning community with the practitioners in the states and using technology for that. So, for staying connected with the stakeholders and also internally, because even if we have 6 members, they are located in different regions within the state. And so, for that, what we have been able to do is we have internally we use platforms like WhatsApp, Discord. With our stakeholders, we use mostly WhatsApp to stay connected, share all our updates, circulars, whatever learning resources we want to share. Also, for the contents that we develop for the stakeholders, what we have realized is that being a like majorly Bengali speaking region in the Tripura is a majorly Bengali speaking region. So we had to convert all our content from English to Bengali, and that has been a very Herculean task for the entire team. And we have used technology to support us with that. We have used Google Translate, Anuvad, and this kind of software applications to do the translation, basic translation, and then we review it internally. And then also to address the issue of power shortages, because we have faced it often when taking sessions and workshops with the stakeholders. So we ensure that we have all our decks and all our videos downloaded so that we can show it to them whenever there is a power cut or something like that. Also, with respect to making the enabling our stakeholders to use data to make their decisions, it has been like quite a task for us. Firstly, the understanding the dashboard, the complexity of the dashboard has been challenge for our stakeholders, and for that we have continuously oriented them, conducted multiple refreshers with them, and also ourselves we have like built our capacity to derive insights from the dashboard, qualitative insights, and simplify the data for them. So basically, what we try to do is we simplify the data and then take it to the stakeholders and then put it to discussion. So once the stakeholder look at the simplified data, then they have some ideas about what is going well and what needs to be improved. And that is something that we continue to work on. And also, as Kalyani was also sharing that adoption at state level is something that we have been trying for some time now, and we have achieved some success. We are in discussion with the state officials so that the dashboards, the school improvement dashboards that we have can go into the state MIS, so that a larger broad spectrum of stakeholders can look at it and then um, inform their decisions through those data. So when the state has its own Vidya Samiksha Kendra, and we are trying to integrate our dashboards with that. So that is also in process. Also, other thing is that to create the peer learning communities with with all our practitioners, be it teachers, be it school leaders, we have been using this platform called Abhyas, which have been developed by our team, and we have been using it for internal learning also with our team members going through multiple courses on different aspects of school improvement. And also we are trying to create courses out of the experiences and the practices of the practitioners on the field, and getting those courses on the platform and sharing it with others, using it in the sessions in the peer learning communities that we have, so that everyone is able to access the and understand and know the practices that are happening across the state and also outside the state. And we have seen some amount of success with that. And yeah, we are working to ensure that more and more people come and participate in those peer learning discussions through Abhyas.
Thanks, Bijan.
Yeah, thank you, Kalyan.
That was very helpful, and coming right from someone bang in the middle of the field, trying to handle 4,400 schools. This is something we all are learning from every day to make the technologies that we use better. A very quick thank you to everyone who's helped us maybe building our technology or building the capacity of people who are working with these technology. Tatras, Nomad, Quetta Foundation, along with Designscapes, and of course ILSS, the Digital Transformation Program for Social Impact. Uh, we like to call them our super tech partners because they have not only helped us build our platforms, but they have shown a kind of empathy that you don't really see coming from someone who does not understand the kind of work we do in first go. So thank you to all our partners. And then I hand it over to Nishtha to now invite our two panel guests.
Thank you. Thank you, Kalyani. I think my screen is stuck, so at this point, I'm just trusting that all of you can hear me and see me. I'll quickly we'll quickly move to the next segment, which is our panel discussion, where we have two amazing leaders joining us from two incredible organizations. I'll introduce them. First, we have Prashast. Prashast is a co-founder and director at Sacha, a non-profit improving learning outcomes in government schools. With a background in engineering from BITS Pilani and an MBA from IIM Ahmedabad, he leads the design of data-driven, tech-enabled systems that scale across public education networks. Then we have our second panelist, Praful. Praful is founder director of VOPA, working at the intersection of public education, technology, and mental health. Over 7 years, he has built and scaled digital learning platforms like VSchool and Nipun Maharashtra, reaching millions across Maharashtra's public education system. When we're thinking of having a discussion, we couldn't think of anybody else but these two organizations who have had their own journey of learning with tech and from tech. So we'll now have a conversation with them. And to moderate this conversation, again, I'll invite Kalyani from Adhyan to be able to take this forward. So, over to Kalyani.
Great. Thanks, Nishta. I think we can stop sharing and have Praful and Prashast on the screen. Great. Well, just to clarify that we are not trying to do any showcases of the kind of technology we are using. And no, we are not trying to do any demos. We believe that there is no one perfect model for everyone in the sector. So in the next hour, what we'll try to do with Praful and Prashast is to understand their everyday context and the programs that they work with, and what was the moment when technology sort of came into their programs, their organizations, and then try to get a little bit of learning from their insights, and maybe a little advice on how we can go about getting technology in our context as well. So thank you, Praful. Thank you, Prashast, for joining the conversation today. Prashast, I'd like to start with you. Maybe talk a little bit about what Saja does and what's the context, what are the kind of stakeholders that you work with.
Sure, Kalyani. And before technology fails me again, I'm audible, right? And I'm visible. Sorry about the lighting. It's a borrowed room, so I can't do much. But cool. About us, so we are Saja. We try to ensure that children are able to achieve foundational literacy and numeracy, which is essentially ability to read in their mother tongue and do a simple arithmetic problem, which is division. Working only with government schools, the kids in primary grades. Right now, we have around 2.5 lakh children in a network, largely in Delhi, working with 1,500 schools in Delhi. The intervention which we do, end beneficiary is of course the child, but our hypothesis is that the role of parent in a particularly in a government school context needs to be relooked at and be thought much more systematically. So how do I empower the parent to take necessary actions to help her child learn? That is a hypothesis, or rather, that is the goal which we work towards which we work. We have a team of around 66 parents in our team in Saja. These parents are then supporting around 15,000 parents every month through a mix of call and WhatsApp based support, which is essentially where technology comes in. So that is in a nutshell about what we do. Happy to sort of happy to take another question. I can see a comment. Can I join Saja? But I mean, I can share my email ID.
Thank you, Prashast. And then I'll invite you, Praful, to give us a little context of what WOPA does. Maybe start with giving us the full form of WOPA and why that sort of came into, why you thought of a name like that, and then move on to the kind of stakeholders and the spaces you work.
Sure, thanks. So the organization's name is Vowels of the People Association, and it has been a very thoughtful decision. Since the inception or before that also, I think WOPA was born out of righteous anger. It was born out of need that, okay, we could see that there are lots of challenges and situations in the society, what we can do about it. So me and few of my friends thought that, okay, let us ourselves do something about it. Initially, we thought that, okay, let us work with some other organization, but we couldn't do that. And somehow, with the help of few friends and family, we started Vowels of the People Association. The idea is for any downtrodden or vulnerable section of society, the part to their upliftment goes through certain ways of change making. So, for example, through education, through agitation, through organization, through uplifting themselves, or through igniting the thoughts of coming out of that misery. So, all these words which resonate or which denote some kind of action to get out of that vulnerable situation, coincidentally, they start with some kind of vowel. So WOPA is an organization that helps the people, the means the vulnerable people, to come out of their miserable situation by empowering them through these methods that are denoted by these vowels. So these are the vowels, these are the words for which we are trying to empower the people. So this is the long form and the story behind the name of the organization. At WOPA, we are working on multiple projects, and mainly the focus is on school education. So initially we were completely focused on school transformation projects where teacher training was the initial focus. Right now also we have some projects around that. Because of COVID, we were introduced to this world of technology. Like everybody else, during the COVID period, education suddenly went online, went digital. And at that time we started thinking that, okay, what is the way ahead? Because it was our job to help the teachers, to help the parents, to get their children ahead in their journey. So that is how technology came into picture during COVID. It was a very coincidental decision. And the nudging factor was the region where we work, few students committed suicide because they were thrown out of WhatsApp group for not paying the fees because the teacher was conducting the classes on WhatsApp. So that was the tipping point for us where we said that, okay, let us build something which would be open source and free for all. And that is how we built our first EdTech product that is called as vSchool, which provides teaching, learning, educational resources, and a lot of things for various stakeholders like teachers, parents, or government officers and children. Apart from that, recently we have also started working in mental health. So these are some basic projects and products that are at WOPA.
I'll ask you to hold that thought there, Praful, before we move into your influx in technology. I would like to explore this idea of whether an organization is program first or tech first. And I would like to hear from you, Prashast, as to what do you feel that Saja at this point today is, whether you're a very program first because you work with stakeholders on the field. And I'd like to hear from you whether you think that it's technology that's driving your programs, or you're still a very program first on the field using technology as an enabler organization.
And thank you for asking that question, Kalyani, because this always allows me to take a perspective which a parent would take, the parent whom I'm trying to support. For me, I'm a parent first. I don't care about program or technology, but by default, that also means I'm a program first organization. As long as a parent looks forward to Saja. So I mean, just to give a brief about our model. So we have a team of Sajedas. Sajedas are typically parents from similar communities who are onboarded into a team. These Sajedas are generally mothers themselves, and these mothers essentially call parents, talk to the child, try to assess the child learning level, and then there is some technology at the back end through which learning content is shared with the child. Now, these Sajidas are generally kids generally refer to them as Saja ma'am. So I mean, of course, they don't know the real name of these Sajidas. But for me, when I say I am a program first organization, I mean it because for a child and a parent whom we are working with, this Saja ma'am is the brand ambassador, for lack of a better word. This is the person, this is the entity with whom parent and child are looking forward to engaging with. So definitely a program first organization, or rather, being program first is much closer to what we try to do. But this is in no way to demean technology. I mean, technology does play a role in making an organization an effective program first organization as well. But I'll restrict myself to that. But yeah, I mean, that would be my take on it.
So, Praful, before you take on this question and start talking about how your approach has been, I would also like you to talk a little bit about what was your tech moment when you thought that for what you have envisioned for Vopa, tech is going to be the big factor.
I think for Vopa and we are impact driven. As I told that Vopa was born out of righteous anger and towards social justice. For us, it is justice first. And for justice at scale, it is impact first. And for impact right now, coincidentally, tech has been the best and most efficient enabler. And that is how we are now tech first. I'm a mechanical engineer, and traditionally I was expected to work in some company and like that, right? But somehow I joined the social development sector. Initially, I went to Gadcholi, served there, started learning from various social leaders, the ABCD or the basics of social change making. During that time, I realized that I have changed my career path. I have been fighting with my parents and family that, okay, why are you working in development sector when you have the career in the mainstream sector? And I was working with 5 schools during the initial period of VOPA. We were going to those schools, working like day and night at those schools to train the teachers, to improve the systems. And after 2 years of those programs, on-ground programs, in a review meeting, we realized that we didn't change our life path to work in 5 schools for a long run. We need to scale it up. So that was the first thought and the trigger when we first started thinking about technology. So initially, we started building a platform that would be useful for teacher training. But coincidentally, COVID started and we modulated that platform to become the first edtech product that was for children. So this was the transition and thought process behind starting with the tech.
Great. Prashast, I would also like you to then think about what was your tech moment, because we spoke a lot about reaching the child and the parent being the conduit to reach the child, and how you, the Sajida Didi, is sort of this trusted person in the lives of your stakeholders. So, what made you start using tech as something to drive the program?
Sure. And I was just listening to Praful's fantastic story, and I think the starting point is pretty much similar, although we ended up in two very different organizations. But again, our journey started in COVID. It's during COVID as well. Prior to COVID, we were a very field heavy, a very community visit, school visit heavy sort of an organization. A lot of focus was on face-to-face interactions, workshops, events, activities, etc. COVID happened, schools were shut down, community visits were not happening. And that's when we sort of established, and so in some sense, a virtual call center. We started making calls. Our focus was on learning, but during the first few calls during COVID, we started figuring out that talking about learning now is not going to make sense. So there was migrant issues, there was food issues, etc. But that's also when we realized that we needed a medium to reach out to parents just to talk, and technology was the only possible solution back then. Over time, we realized that and as situation sort of eased out, COVID lockdowns sort of started to get lifted, and that is when we realized that our core was learning, our core should remain learning, and let's build a program about how to get children to learn better. And by this time, we were also very clear that our value add is, or rather, what makes us valuable to the parent is our ability to talk with empathy, to build trust-driven relationship. Technology essentially became a lever how to deliver trust and empathy at scale at a fraction of a cost which a school visit would do. So that, and this is again similar timeline, 21, 22 is when we started pivoting, and now our only interaction with the parent is happening over a phone call and through WhatsApp chatbot. Engagement is over tech, but our core remains on having a conversation which is driven by trust and empathy.
That's very interesting. And it's here that after listening to both of you, I would like to segue into this whole debate that organizations have within themselves, that whether we should build the technology or whether we should buy the technology. So take something off the shelf, use a vendor, or get an in-house tech team and build the tech ourselves. So Praful, maybe you can start talking a little bit about WeSchool and the kind of team or the kind of vendor that you approached. And then Prashant, we can hear from you about the approach that you took. Yeah.
Sure. So coincidentally, when we started Bupa, the initial supporters and the founders were engineers, not from the computer background or IT background, but we were engineers. So that kind of technical thinking or logical thinking was always there. So at first, when we decided to develop this platform for teacher training purposes, coincidentally, the first version of it was developed by my friend. I designed the platform and he developed it. And during that time, I realized that uh, just being a coder might not help. My friend and I used to have a lot of philosophical discussions about how the user experience should be, what is the reason behind certain kind of functions and everything. So that was the first experience of for both of us to develop something that would be used for teachers, right? But after a certain basic version, we started thinking that okay, it is becoming more complex. The timeline is tight because of COVID. We wanted to launch it as soon as possible, and we didn't have any kind of experience or in-house team that would be skilled in the coding or in the development tasks. And we were like 3 people in the organization at that time. It was a very small organization at that time. So one of my friends suggested that okay, I know some people who are like start a very small company and they might be able to chip in and help you guys. So this is how we started communicating with them. I remember the first discussion that we had with them was like this. Okay, I have worked with Gadchiroli, and I could see that I can still get cola or Pepsi and bottled water at Gadchiroli. So such kind of corporate products are there at such kind of depth of geography. So why cannot we build something that reaches such kind of depths or vulnerable sections of the society? Same with, we use Gmail, for example. Every Android phone has Gmail. People used to use Wikipedia, the open source Ubuntu and Linux systems. So we were very much motivated by these products, that they are so lightweight, they are open to all. Lots of people are using it. Why cannot we build something which is so simple and still free to use and still providing a lot of value? So that was the communication or the conversation that we had with the vendor for the first vendor. So it was not about the functions. It was not about the requirement. It was about the philosophy behind the product. And that set the tone for the next meetings and the developments with that vendor. So that vendor is still with us, but within a year or two, we decided that, okay, the product is getting more complex. More human resources are required to develop that product. The cost is humongous. So that is how we started thinking that, okay, let us have an in-house team. So while we were working with the vendor, we started developing our in-house team as well, slowly starting with 1%, then 2%. So that way, right now, both of these teams are there. Our in-house team is larger. It has 6 people. and the vendor, they are there for more complex projects or wherever they can fit in. But
Thanks
mainly
for
the
that.
task is carried out by the in-house team. Yes.
Great. Thank you. And you said something very interesting, and I want to get to you, Prashast. Maybe you can start talking about why you chose to go with a vendor or why you chose to do it in-house. Is the philosophy behind the product? And I want to take it back to how you spoke about trust and empathy. So, if we could start from there, and then maybe you can tell us why you chose to go with a vendor, why you chose to do things in-house. Over to you.
And sure, Kalyan. And to be fair, as in we also started to what Praful was started, it's just that we were not probably as logical or well equipped to build a tech solution. We built an app. It was not working on scale. We were running into frequent problems. It used to crash, and then we will spend a week spending debugging, building something. The cost was super high. There was a lot of problem with the storage because all the calls were being recorded for the callers to sort of hear. And that is when we step back, and a lot of things around us also, in some sense, we were also lucky. So we had Brijesh, who is founder of IndiaMart, who was very interested in what we were trying to do. So because IndiaMart is a tech heavy, almost a tech company, so he came in with a lot of tech expertise, and he also pushed us in understanding what our expertise is. So for me, I know what the parent wants to, or I know how to have a conversation with parent. And we were also in touch with these folks at Platform Commons. It's a tech development firm based out of Bangalore, and we have been involved formally, informally for about 7-8 years. So we had a very good sort of relationship, and they were super sharp tech people. And with Brijesh, us, and Platform Commons, we sort of came into an understanding. Okay, Saja knows how to talk to a parent. I know that a parent, when you're talking to her, this is the challenge she's facing. There's often the child does not find enough time or enough space in a room to study. So creating a timetable in some sense help. Asking the child how was your day or how was your school, that also has a lot of impact. And these are all things which I knew. Platform Commons would know, okay, how does an app function, what data would flow from where, how is the data populated on the screen, etc., etc. And that is where we decided that, okay, outsourcing would be a better idea. We still have a very small tech team which understands technology, but so requirement from our field team is actually communicated in a way which Platform Commons is able to understand. But for us, this arrangement worked very well, where we are focusing on what our strengths are, delivering support through trust and empathy, and Platform Commons is doing what they are able to do well, which is building technology. And then we have a bunch of advisors who are helping us in keeping this functioning smooth.
That's very interesting about how sort of the influx point or the tech moment led you to do a very similar thing, but then choose very different paths of how you wanted to scale, whether it was in-house for you, Praful, or with a vendor for you, Prashast. So we would like to dive a little bit into what tech was not able to do for you. So we've heard a lot about how it solved your problems and the philosophy behind both your models. If we could touch upon what tech was not able to do for you, and also from the point of learning and how you then pivoted into solving for it. So any one of you who's ready, maybe Prashast, you want to go first?
And sure, Kalyani, I think when I talk about limitations of tech, that was also a big learning experience for us. And you would know it better than I do that you get a lot of advices from people outside the ecosystem. Why do you not do this with the parent? Why do you not do that with the parent? And that advice is often very non-contextual. For example, we tried creating a reward program sort of a thing for the parent. The idea was to nudge parent to engage with the content more. That program, worked, but it had only a very marginal impact. Now, the problem with that was because the parents with whom we are working are generally educated till grade 8. A reward program sort of a thing would work for me, who is actually able to understand 20 out of 30 means 70, 67%, and so on and so forth. But for a parent who's anyways having difficulty in reading, if I get her enrolled in a program which is again very reading heavy, that often has a negative impact. And this is precisely what had happened during the program. So technology without having tech intervention, when you're not very clear about what do you mean to the parent. For me, the parent was I was seen as someone who is ensuring that somebody is there to listen to the parent, with whom parent can open up. And WhatsApp is not a medium for that. I mean, a chatbot chatting with you will not give you that flexibility. So knowing what technology, what you mean to the end beneficiary, uh, and understanding the context of the parent. So understanding that parent is not very comfortable reading messages. If I ignore these two, and this is precisely what we sort of missed when we were focusing on technology-based intervention. So that's one big area which I would want to flag where we did not sort of work very well.
Very interesting. And Praful, before you answer the question of what tech was not able to unlock for you, maybe we also want to think a little bit about what is that one unexpected thing that tech did for you that you were not expecting your solution to do for you. So let's start with the rose and then we can move into the limitation and how you dealt with it.
Sure. You're asking
Praful.
me or Praful?
Okay.
Okay.
So what tech couldn't do is, I would say, like any other organization or any leader, to build a good team, you will need to have, a very personal connect and values-driven people, social change-driven people. That the tech couldn't do ever. The second thing I realized was about the collaborations, the network, the government collaboration specifically. The role of tech was limited in that sense as well. We had chosen to be an edtech or to provide basically the teaching learning content, right? And majority of the times, whenever somebody speaks of educational content, they think about videos. That okay, if I open that page, some videos would be there. At most, some MCQs would be there at the end of the videos, right? So while developing this first platform, the vSchool platform, we thought that okay, we need to think from the basic that technology or edtech is should not be equal to videos. Like for example, in a classroom, when a teacher teaches, according to the need of the concept, they will choose the medium. Right? They might start a conversation, they might ask a riddle, they might get the students on the ground to play something, or they might start with a joke, something, right? So why to stick with videos only? Videos is just one medium of propagating the information. So I think that is where we came up with a very unique pedagogy that we will stick to वही पेन पुस्तक परिसर ये जो 5 चीजें. So it is for a rural student, his pen, his notebook, his book, his teacher, his surrounding is very important to learn something. And we use the technology to connect these 5 things with that child, not just provide videos. So that was a very unique thing that we did with the technology. And I think we were able to succeed in that. And the surprising thing that you asked about the next question, what was the unexpected thing that happened? So we were not very experienced. Actually, nobody in our team was experienced with some kind of a tech product. It was a very experimentation kind of thing. We were having some kind of hypothesis that people would want this, people would like that, and something like that. So with this pedagogy, we launched the platform in one district. It was for one class only, for class 10th during the COVID time. And the target population was around 40,000 students in that one district. But within a month, we realized that 5 lakh children across Maharashtra were using it. And we had received thousands of letters and feedbacks about requesting that why don't you use the same pedagogy, the same platform to build and host the content from first to ninth class as well, because it is unique and it is required. So that was a surprise, and that is what actually motivated us to go even deeper in that. Like, initially, it was just the experiment.
So, on that note, actually, building up on your story and a very interesting question that we have got from Rutuja, thank you for your question. Both of you are working within the system. Your programs are embedded. For Praful, you in with the government SCRT of Maharashtra, and Prashast, you with the Delhi children. So her question is basically that people are building tech solutions blindly without understanding ground realities, and we know a lot of solutions that came and went. Same influx point, which was COVID. So I want to hear from you in terms of systemically, when you were looking at your complex problem that you wanted to solve with tech, how did you go about deciding what kind of tech you wanted to build? And how did you ensure that adoption was happening on the field? So I want you to touch a little bit upon the complex issue that you were trying to solve and how you ensured adoption was happening with your stakeholder. Any one of you, Prashast, if you're ready.
No, and sure. And I think this is a fantastic question. And for us, Kalyani, and we have been very lucky in a lot of ways. So we had partnered with Center for Data Science and AI at IIM Ahmedabad. And then there are two things, and I was having a conversation with Praful as well. I think VOPA has a very well-defined set of metrics to sort of figure out whether the technology is being adopted or not. But where we are, because trust empathy is very difficult to quantify. So we do have metrics, your retention rate, etc., etc., etc. But are these metrics enough to measure whether at the end of the day I want myself to be valued for the parent? If I'm adding value to the parent, if something is adding value to the parent, that needs to be continued. How do we measure that? We created a WhatsApp group for parents where children were sort of engaging with each other, nudging each other, do this activity, but there was no sort of improvement in retention rate. So now there was something happening on the group. Children were talking to each other. I was not able to measure it. Does not mean that WhatsApp group do not work. They work in a way which is different from what I'm expecting. So understanding what exactly is your technology doing is often not captured in your existing metrics. So if I use a retention rate, the retention rate of the parent, and say whether WhatsApp group is working or not, it will not make sense. Now, to solve that, what we have started doing is doing some qualitative research. So these are focus group discussions, in-person, in-depth interview, and not a very big sample. So we have a third party, Center for Data Science and AI, and they essentially talk to the parent. This is a freewheeling 40-minute, 50-minute conversation with the parent at her home, understanding how is she engaging with the technology, what is the feature which she's liking. So this idea that parent is not interested in reading WhatsApp messages, that came about because we were having an informal sort of a conversation with the parent कि अच्छा WhatsApp पे आप क्या करते हैं? अरे WhatsApp पे तो इधर उधर के बहुत मैसेज आते हैं, हम क्या क्या पढ़ेंगे, कोई पैसा निकाल लेता है मेरा. So all these sort of insights can only emerge from at least in my experience have only emerged from a detailed, in-depth, qualitative research in some sense. So my suggestion would be technology should always be backed by some qualitative research. Just focusing on quantitative data that my retention rate is not improving, hence it's worthless, is a very premature conclusion. So my submission would be that.
Thank you. And that's very important because the kind of problems that we are trying to solve for, it's very important to programmatically first understand what those problems are before introducing tech to take care of, to automate that problem solving, right? And to that end, then, Praful, I would like to hear from you because you're also working with a very large system. You're working with the SCRT. So how has that sort of panned out, and how is adoption, how have you been able to drive adoption with the state or even in your D2C model?
Sure. So, like I said, vSchool was also born out of righteous anger, right? At that time, I was very angry that a lot of education or every kind of education subject was happening on WhatsApp, or everybody was talking about chatbots. Everybody was talking about building a new chatbot. And we were like, okay, there are multiple subjects, like I was mentioning about the pedagogy, right? So same is about educational content and different teaching learning methods. So can everything be communicated through the same chatbot or the same communication style? That was the question that we asked ourselves. So we are pushing the learning content or the learning methods by using a very restricted medium like WhatsApp chatbot or something like that. So we are using what we have, and we are trying to use that only to solve a certain challenge or any challenge, in fact. And we didn't like that approach. So that is how we said, okay, we need to build a custom solution that would help us with the custom problems. Problem needs to be there first. We cannot go with a solution that, okay, we have this kind of technology, so let us build everything on top of this technology because we have it. And having the understanding of working with the teachers and stakeholders on the ground for more than few years initially before the tech was there, that understanding of a common user, a teacher or parent, that was very important. I completely agree with Prashant. Our initial model where we build a lot of educational content, that was in collaboration with the Zilla Parishad teachers. Normally it is said that it is very difficult to work with a government teacher and get them to work on something, right? But in the last few years, we have worked with more than 3,000 government teachers, and they have created educational content free for us, which is more than 14,000 educational videos or more than 4,000 chapters from Bal Bharati textbooks. We could motivate them, we could get them together in this system. Like I gave you the example of Wikipedia, right? Everybody contributes their knowledge, and from there, everybody else is using that. So building an efficient system where the existing elements of the system will be efficiently used. That was the most important challenge, and tech was just one part of it.
And that, again, I want to go back to what Prashant said about having trust, building that trust and empathy with your stakeholder, with your end user who's eventually going to use the technology, right? To that note, Praful, I want you to talk a little bit about what has latest learning in the years that you have built tech, implemented it, and are now going to implement it at scale with all the children with SCRT Maharashtra. So what has been that one big learning for you?
I think being empathetic with the end user is very important. Be it a teacher is a role, right? We try to understand teachers as a human first during their training as well, or building the tech products as well. A lady teacher might be, a very traditional woman coming from a very traditional family. So we need to understand user from that perspective as well. Like you showed in the graph that only 20% of the people are still saying that it is difficult to use the technology, right? So we need to also think about those people. So while working at scale now with Nipun Maharashtra, I think the learnings from V School were very useful. Now Nipun Maharashtra is being, made mandatory by the government that all the teachers would use it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if the user experience is good or bad because it is being mandated, right? But still, we followed the same values and principles that we used in V School because V School was open and free and there was no push model. Whoever wants to use it, they will have to be self-motivated to use it. I think the reflection is in these stats. Now Nipun is actually pushed through the government, by the government, but on Play Store, it has 4.4 rating with more than 2 lakh downloads and more than 10,000 people have given it a rating. So it is a proactive rating. I think this is the reflection that, okay, when you build with the empathy, with the user, then the tech works.
Thank you. And that's an interesting note to now pivot to you, Prashant, because a very important word that Prafulla used was compliance. When your tech sort of becomes a part of compliance with the government, and when it doesn't. So I just want to understand from you what your biggest learning has been, whether you're embedded within a government system that has made that push happen for you, or how has that worked out for you in the sense of
Sure.
your learnings?
And Kalani, government being embedded in a government system is definitely helpful. I mean, there's no doubt about the scale reach which government systems bring in. Very few private entities can sort of get into that. For me, Kalyani, personally, I mean, and I'm sorry, I'll give a slightly longer answer, but there have been two learnings for me when they talk about technology at Saja. One is ensuring that we are very clear what do we mean to the parent. If a parent values a trust and empathy-driven conversation, for me, let's say assessing the child over a WhatsApp chatbot does not make sense because that takes away the conversation, the trust, the empathy, etc. So being very clear about your value proposition, what you are doing, why does parent value you is extremely important. Second thing, which has been in some sense learning is we, I mean, parents with whom we work, they are generally migrant workers, not very literate, very limited family income, etc. But even there, we have seen a lot of resilience when it comes to technology adoption. I send them a WhatsApp message, and once that trust and empathy based relationship is formed, parent will not ignore that message. She might not be able to read, but she'll go to the kids tuition teacher or school teacher or class teacher, ma'am, ye message aaya, what does this message mean? What do I do with this, etc. So for me, that this tech adoption, when we talk about the this is also something uh, which is percolated to the end beneficiary. The parent, they take necessary steps. They're just limited by someone to sort of, they're just limited by having an avenue whom they trust. We are hoping to be that for at least a few years. But yeah, for me, this would be how so technology can help us in delivering this feature at scale. But this feature is very clear to us.
So I like the word that you used, resilience, right? And for most of our end users, when you're trying to reach the last mile practitioner or the last mile user in a space where there's no connectivity or very low connectivity or lack of a smartphone to put an app on, it's a very small word that becomes very important then, right? To for your user to be resilient, and that resilience will only come from the trust and the empathy that you have built, the empathy that you put in building the app and the trust that you were able to sort of generate for the end user to use your app. On that note, we have 10 minutes left, and I would like to open the floor for the audience who have any questions to ask. Um, Please raise your hands and then we can go one by one. You can unmute yourself and ask your questions to our panelists. And then we'll move towards closing thoughts. Yeah. Actually, we have a question here. That made you feel satisfied with this work and that still continues to give you energy even today?
I can go. There's a very sharp kid called Manvi, and she was progressing very well. So just I'll take a slight detour. Our model is that we ensure that children are able to receive level appropriate content on WhatsApp. And once the child reaches the highest level, which is ability to read a paragraph and ability to do division, after that my support is not useful. So we generally stop calling. Now this kid Manvi was sort of improving continuously over one and a half 2 years. After that, as soon as she reached level 3, which is the second highest level, she stopped improving. And I mean, we were always surprised because she was sharp, she was doing the worksheet, etc., etc. But during the assessment, where Darshana ji, who was a member of our team, when she was talking to Manvi to figure out what happened, and she would always give the last answer wrong. Then one day we had a physical conversation where Manvi met Darshana ji, and she was calling Darshana ji Saja ma'am. So Darshana ji asked what happened, why you're not able to progress, etc. And then Manvi said, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, I'm using Hindi. I don't know if everyone is comfortable, but I'll translate. मैम मैं लास्ट सवाल का जवाब जानबूझ के गलत दे देती हूँ क्योंकि अगर मैंने सही जवाब दिया तो आप मेरे को कॉल करना बंद कर दोगे." And that is that is when everything fell into place. Roughly translated, that meant that I deliberately give the wrong answer so that you don't stop calling me and I stay at level 3. You keep calling me. But I mean, this will not show up an improvement rate. But again, that's something which you cannot measure. But for me, that was a very powerful moment which happened like 6 months back.
That's a beautiful story. Mr. Sunil, you had your hand up. Would you want to unmute yourself and ask your question? Okay, maybe you can put it on the chat if there's a problem. But we have a lot of questions because we had put a question in our registration form, and we got a lot of questions about funding your tech. Now, since both of you are using tech with a considerable user base and it's an essential part of your program, Prashast, maybe we would like to hear from both of you about how you're funding the technology, what kind of partners you've been able to get on board, and important for the technology to be part of a program for it to get funded.
I will go
Any-
first.
Yeah, sure.
So initially, when we built V-School, it was from our own pockets. There was no funder. There was no guarantee, continued or sustained. We might get a funder or not. It was surprising that it got a lot of traction. People loved it. A lot of success stories emerged out of it. Students, parents, especially the girl students, they shared their experiences that how it is helping them because their parents are not supporting for their digital education and like that. So with that success, I think we could attract some donors and unrestricted grants who believed in us that, okay, you are using a unique pedagogy or the way of using the technology for education is something different. So why don't you build further with this money? So that initial trust by a few donors and unrestricted funds to put on maybe people or technology. So that was really helpful. These donors with that kind of open trust, that really helped us in the initial period. In terms of getting the funds, CSR or grants, now almost every project at Vopa is tech driven or at least assisted by tech. So that is an integral part of our project proposals now. But I don't think that that is a hurdle or that is a requirement by donors that tech should be used or tech shouldn't be used. It was always like, what is the outcome? Tech is just one of the mediums that we are using. So that has been our experience.
Thanks, Rahul. And we'll very quickly hear from you, Prashast, before we move to closing statements. Yeah.
No, and absolutely, Kalani, and pretty much aligned with what Praful is saying. But just one quick addition for us, we also see our part donors as consumer of technology. So using tech, if I'm able to create a live dashboard and give that flexibility for my donor to see which are the children they are supporting, etc., that sort of helps in raising funds for technology. But pretty much similar experience used an unrestricted resource of building technology, and now it's embedded into our project proposals.
Great. So a couple of phrases that I think I'm taking with me after this conversation, of course, is how tech has not been able to crack building culture and collaboration, but how we can build collaboration around the tech that we are building. How the end user becomes more resilient if there is trust and empathy that goes into building your tech. And instead of being tech first or program first, I think for both of you, I can say after hearing to your stories, to the anecdotes, that we're all impact first, and tech may be an enabler to help us become impact first. So very quickly, from both of you, one advice that you would like to give organizations who are jumping headfirst into incorporating technology with their programs, trying to figure out what kind of technology they can use, anything that comes to mind to just close out this conversation. Prashast, if you want to go first.
Sure. And my very solid, very sincere advice would be please stay close to people you're trying to impact. Any technology development has to come after you know why is someone being associated. Even for us, it's a parent who is willing to invest her time in us. I have to be very clear. What is she expecting? If she's expecting a human trust and empathy-driven conversation, I will not get a technology to replace it, but get technology to deliver that at scale. So that would be my very short, simple advice.
Yes.
Praful?
I completely agree with Prashast. I resonate with each word and every advice that he has given. Additionally, I would say that just beware of the unit cost, and maybe there's some accidental anomalies or sudden cost that might arise while working at scale with the technology.
Great. I think across all three journeys, one thing that's very clear is that technology cannot create change on its own. It amplifies what is already present. So where there is a clarity in purpose, or where there's a sense in purpose with the programs that we are doing, it has helped people sort of align to where there was trust, where there was collaboration, and the culture. If there is a culture that was weak or that was fractured, then technology alone cannot compensate for that. So we have, through your anecdotes, through your stories, and through your journey of building with tech, we've been able to understand that it has to go hand in hand with your programs, and the philosophy behind the product has to be very strong. So thank you so much. I just wanted to tell everyone who's joined us that we'll be putting together a short practical guide that captures the insights from what we have shared and what Praful and Prashast have shared. It'll be like a ready reckoner, which you can use. It'll have some resources, some guides about how you can go to building with tech or integrating tech within your programs. We'll try to answer as much of your questions as we can, the ones that you've put in your registration forms in terms of funding, what kind of support you can look into. And of course, I saw someone who wanted to connect on LinkedIn, so please feel free to do that. I think all of us are open to collaborating and share the knowledge that we have been able to sort of get in the time that we have worked with integrating technology with our programs. So on that note, with ending with a hope to collaborate better, look at the kind of technologies across organizations, and to keep doing such panels where we get to learn so openly from your experiences. I want to end with a small share, and I'll translate it for people who are not able to understand Hindi, but so it goes like this. I'm not very good at reading out shares. I should have done this, given this to Nishtha. But मैं अकेला ही चला था जानिबे मंजिल मगर लोग साथ आते गए और कारवां बनता गया. So to translate, I started off alone, but people kept joining, and Karwa sort of, very bad translation, but I hope that you get the essence, that we hope that we continue to collaborate with organizations like WOPA, Saja, and also if you have a use case to share, and we get to do more such panels to learn from the knowledge that exists with the practitioners in the sector. And on that note, I'd like to close the panel and close the session. Sorry, we are 1 minute late, and I would love for all of you who's joined the panel to fill out the feedback form. It'll help us get better. Give us some ideas on what you would like to hear, what you would like to be part of the Ready Reckoner that we are trying to put together with whatever we have learned from this panel. Thank you so much for joining, and have a great evening and a great weekend.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Nisha, you can stop the recording.